Hi, I'm Nat.
And I'm Guy. And
Yes.
today we're talking Sydney Sweeney and Mexico dumping some sewage into the United States for the past decade.
Yes, and maybe Disney finally recognizing their mistake and backing up a little bit.
Oh, do you want to talk about some of the comments we got?
Yeah, do it in Spanish, I guess.
Okay, you can go to your 20 minutes then.
Okay,
Sorry, 15 minutes.
15 minutes, yes. Let's go. Buenas noches a todos. Espero que estén muy bien. Es viernes, entonces pues hablemos de cosas más, relajadas que política intensa. Pero sí quería comentar rápido porque muchas gracias por ver el clip del en vivo que hicimos ahí, que hice ayer, hablando sobre esta esgrimista que decidió no competir en contra de un hombre trans. Entonces me llegó varios comentarios diciendo, estando de acuerdo, pero diciendo que se tiene que usar mucho respeto y que no hay que perdernos en usar insultos para referirnos a las personas, pero creo que sí es importante admitir el hecho de que las mujeres trans son hombres biológicos y que de ahí pues todavía uno de los grandes problemas que hay es justamente por eso, es justamente lo que hace que se vuelvan inseguras muchas situaciones. Y noto que no ahondé en esto ayer porque no quería divagarme del tema demasiado, pero uno de los grandes problemas es que dejar que mujeres trans, hombres biológicos, entren a espacios, ya sí se nota que es viernes, que hombres biológicos entren a espacios designados solamente para mujeres, como cambiadores, como baños, pero no solo eso, también en prisiones, por ejemplo, en Vancouver, de donde venimos. En Vancouver, de donde venimos, en California, en varios otros estados de Estados Unidos y también en Canadá y en el Reino Unido, por ejemplo, ha llegado a tanta locura todo esto de aceptar a los trans y no tratarlos con menos respeto que no tocarlos ni con el pétalo en una rosa, casi. Ha llegado tanto esa locura que han dejado que mujeres trans, o sea, hombres, entren a prisiones junto con mujeres biológicas, a prisiones de mujeres, todo por ayudarlos en su trayectoria de cómo se identifican y su trayectoria de género. Y esto ha llevado a varios, no lo puedo decir en YouTube, pero a que terminen maltratando a las mujeres y que llegue a tal grado en donde han habido mujeres en prisiones que se supone que solo son para mujeres, que ahora salen embarazadas y tienen que decidir si pues continúan con el embarazo gracias a una mujer trans, o sea que fue pues en lo que se implicó una mujer trans o un hombre, o si lo abortan. Entonces creo que sí es necesario seguir hablando sobre el peligro real que hay, sobre las realidades biológicas, porque si tratamos de no evidenciar eso y tratamos de no ser súper obvios cuando hablamos de los problemas con dejar que, y por ser bondadosos y buena onda y equitativos y que con entendimiento y que todo hay que tratarlo con respeto, si hacemos eso y no realmente hablamos de las cosas como son, va a seguir pasando y va a seguir siendo difícil tratar de explicar realmente por qué es un problema, porque si no lo decimos en voz alta, sin miedo a ofender a nadie, entonces va a seguir pasando. Y gracias a que los progres siempre son de que no, es que siempre hay que ser muy buena onda y muy bondadosos y equitativos y el entendimiento, hay que ser muy siempre considerar los sentimientos de las personas, etcétera, nunca vamos a poder llegar a una solución porque no se sabe cuál es el problema real. Entonces, a veces sí lo tengo que decir fuerte y no es con afán realmente de ofender a nadie, más bien de evidenciar el problema en términos claros y sin tratar de darle 800 vueltas tratando de explicar por qué es importante hablar del tema. Y pues cuando se relaciona a los deportes, también. Pero bueno, ya que me saqué eso de encima, perdón, les dije que era viernes y que no quería entrar en temas pesados y es con lo que empecé. Pero ahora sí, vámonos con la primera noticia, que como es viernes, bueno, la única noticia, que como es viernes quería que fuera más relajada, ahora sí, y es que, espérenme, es que Disney por fin se dio cuenta de que tal vez hacer un en vivo sobre Tangled no es tan buena idea. Sí, perdón. No es tan buena idea porque vieron lo que pasó con Blancanieves, siguen viendo lo que pasó con Blancanieves y ahora tal vez están diciendo lo que teníamos planeado, que se iba a parecer tal vez bastante a Blancanieves en términos de lo que le iban a inyectar, ya sea de ideología o de cambios o de cambiar la historia aún más, pues no iba a funcionar porque Blancanieves ha sido el peor live action o la peor película en vivo que han hecho en taquilla y ni digamos ahora que se vaya a streaming, chance le va mejor en streaming porque mucha gente seguro dijo, bueno, pues me espero a que salga en streaming y ya. Pero pues es bueno que por lo menos veamos algún tipo de señal por parte de Disney de que tal vez quiere pensar un poquito más las cosas y hacer tal vez una mejor historia, tal vez el casting también, pensarlo un poquito mejor y no solo basarse en lo que 3 o 4 activistas pelados allá dentro de Disney les estaban diciendo que tenían que hacer. Y este artículo, una vez más, es traducido al español porque confío bastante en... ¿Por qué no me deja? Confío bastante en esta página de noticias en especial sobre el entretenimiento que se llama That Park Place, pero en español le pusieron ese lugar del parque, porque hablan las cosas como son y dicen todo como es. Si no saben quién es WDW Pro o WDW Pro, búsquenlo en YouTube porque siempre traen noticias de primera mano, estuvieron involucrados en la industria también, entonces saben bastante, pero aquí vemos que las consecuencias del desastre de Blancanieves de Disney están empezando a extenderse y la próxima víctima es Rapunzel. Rapunzel de Tangled o Enredados en español, esta película que salió por ahí de los 2010, sí, si no mal recuerdo, y fue pues un aire diferente que trajo Disney porque, como lo he mencionado varias veces, pero no he explicado bien cuál ha sido la estrategia de Disney desde los últimos 20, 30 años. Primero tenían a sus princesas como Blancanieves, como la Bella Durmiente, como la Cenicienta, que eran tradicionalmente muy femeninas, que lo importante era el amor, etcétera, etcétera. Y luego les fue bastante mal en las siguientes décadas, después de que salieron esas princesas clásicas, y trataron de alejarse un poco del esquema de las princesas y tratar de atraer más a una audiencia pues, femenina, digamos, y se empezaron a enfocar con animación dirigida más bien hacia la familia y también un poco hacia los hombres. Pensemos en... ¡Ay, se me olvidó el nombre! Bianca. Alguien y Bianca. Bueno, con ese tipo de películas, La espada en la piedra, y no les iba bien, y hubo un punto en donde Disney estaba casi en el mismo lugar en el que está ahorita, donde les estaba yendo mal y no sabían qué hacer, pero decidieron tratar de reenfocarse y ahí fue cuando empezamos a ver lo que se le llama el renacimiento de Disney, pues su época renacentista, donde empezaron a traer personajes con los que estamos muy identificados hoy en día, los que crecimos por ahí de los 90s, a finales de los 80s, 90s y 2000s a principios, o sea, el Rey León, La Bella y la Bestia, La Sirenita, Mulan, todas estas películas nuevas que presentaban una nueva forma de ver a las princesas de Disney, y por eso digo que desde los años 90 traen este discursito de que las mujeres no solo son para que sean salvadas, que no solo están ahí para que sea el nombre de la película, pero que no muevan a la historia. Y fueron varios años donde estaban tratando de usar esa estrategia. Véase Mulan, véase La Sirenita, donde son más partícipes en su propia historia, pero al final pues sí terminan también con romance, amor, terminan casándose, varias de ellas. Y pues venía de un impulso más feminista que se vio en los 90s, con aún más mujeres entrando a trabajar al mercado laboral, a pensar que tal vez no solo querían ser mamás y esposas. Y pues así siguieron varios años hasta que llegó la siguiente etapa, que fue con una de ellas empezando con Tangled o Enredados, y con la historia de Rapunzel, en donde trataron de mezclar ambas variantes, donde sí era menos joven que las demás princesas. Me parece que está como en sus 18, 17, 18, cuando normalmente, por ejemplo, Blancanieves se supone que tenía 14, creo, 15, por ahí andaba. Entonces, un poco más madura, pero también mostrando que tenía... que no todo lo podía, que no le iba bien en todo porque en parte había estado encerrada dentro de una torre por quién sabe cuántos años, y que tenía, o sea, que era un ser humano, que casi completo, que algunas cosas sí podía, otras no, y que también tenía que en parte apoyarse de un güey, un hombre, Flynn Rider, o Eugene, que luego tiene dos nombres este güey, pero que ambos como que eran partícipes en la historia y ambos se apoyaban al mismo tiempo, pero pues sí, ella lo termina salvando a él, pero luego él la termina salvando a ella. Lo trataron de hacer con Blancanieves en remake, en el live action, y no funcionó, pero en Tangled como que todavía estuvo bien, y ya luego empezaron con Frozen, y donde casi pues, no hay güeyes, y los güeyes que hay, uno es malo y el otro está pendejo, entonces siguieron fallando, pero Tangled creo que sí fue como un hilo de esperanza dentro de lo nuevo que iba a traer Disney, y luego pues se cayó por la borda y sigue cayéndose. No solo sus películas, pero las acciones y el dinero que están generando. Pero entonces el hecho de que ahora hayan dicho, bueno, tal vez todo esto de la diversidad, equidad e inclusión, todo esto que nos llevan diciendo y de lo que los fans se llevan quejando quién sabe cuánto tiempo ahora sí, tal vez escuchemos lo que tienen que decir. Esto indica, por lo menos a mí me indica, que la historia iba por un lado en el que los fans no iban a estar felices con este nuevo live action, y que por lo menos han decidido que no solo el dinero, pero también la historia y sus fans pues son importantes a veces, porque al final del día pues de eso viven y de eso comen. Esperemos que sí, o sea, sí me gustaría ver un remake, pero no creo, de Enredados o de Tangled, pero no creo que es lo más importante que tienen que hacer ahorita. En mi opinión, lo más importante y lo mejor que podría hacer Disney es, sí, hagan algo en carne y hueso, hagan algo con personas y como en live action, pero hagan una historia original. Ahí sí pueden meter cuanta personaje, diversidad, etcétera, quieran, porque puede ir con la historia, porque si son creativos, lo suficientemente creativos, lo pueden incorporar de forma orgánica y natural. Y pues ya después hagan un remake de Enredados, pero que respete la historia. Básicamente solo enséñenos cómo sería la película animada, pero con personas. Y parece que por ahora tienen que tomarse un tiempo para ver cómo hacerlo y cómo ser, esperemos, fieles a la historia. No se sabe cuánto tiempo va a estar en pausa, si es que van a continuar con la producción, si es que ya se dieron por vencidos completamente de hacer cualquier otro tipo de remake, tal vez, en vivos, de películas en vivo, en carne y hueso. Y también vemos, y el artículo discute, que próximamente sí va a salir una película live action de Moana, y también sabemos que viene una película de Lilo y Stitch, que parece que la de Lilo y Stitch en live action, o pues con personas reales, excepto pues obviamente Stitch porque no existe, esa parece que es un poco más fiel a la historia, entonces puede que de ahí vean qué es lo que el público pide, y obviamente la vamos a ir a ver, vamos a hacer una reseña sobre Lilo y Stitch, pero me parece interesante que por primera vez parece que Disney está haciendo caso y que se está dando cuenta que lo más importante pues, es su audiencia, porque una vez más de eso viven. Y rápidamente también con noticias de su parque de diversiones más importante, digamos, el que está en Orlando, en Florida, Walt Disney World, también parece que puede que estén haciéndole caso un poco a los fans, porque anunciaron hace unos meses que iban a cerrar por completo una sección que se llama Rivers of America, que está en Frontierland, el mundo fronterizo, pues, donde toda la temática era alrededor de cowboys y el descubrimiento de nuevas tierras en Estados Unidos, y contaba la historia de cómo varios ríos de Estados Unidos se juntaban y las historias que habían dentro, y lo querían destruir para básicamente echarle tierra encima y hacer toda una nueva área, porque ya tienen un área de Cars, de esta película de Cars de Pixar que salió hace quién sabe cuánto, y ya tiene varias otras secuelas, y que pues sí le gusta a los niñitos chicos, pero pues no tienen mucho que ver con la historia que se estaba tratando de contar dentro de los parques, los cuales Walt Disney mismo trató de, o sea, se empeñó en hacer que todo fuera básicamente contar historias, toda su vida era contar historias. Entonces, muchos fans ahí sí que se enojaron completamente, dijeron, ahora sí están destruyendo lo último que quedaba del legado de Walt Disney dentro del último parque en el que tuvo algo que ver antes de que falleciera, donde sí ayudó a planear y pues metió mano, y gran parte de la creatividad venía de él mismo, y una vez más lo quieren destruir. Parece que puede ser que estén también reconsiderando pues echarle tierra al río y retapizar todo y olvidarse de tratar de contar historias, que se suponía que era lo que era, y ahora nada más se estaban fijando en los inversionistas. Y parece que puede que esté en pausa todo ese plan de que ahora sea una tierra, nada más tierra literal, solamente para la película animada de Cars y solamente para traer más dinero, y que toda la creatividad y todo lo que una vez significaba pues esta compañía, que es icónica y importante para mucha gente, y está bien con que nos obsesionen demasiado con Disney, parece que ya entendieron un poco más qué es lo que está pasando. Hemos visto a muchos ejecutivos salir de muchas otras compañías últimamente, varios de ellos que tuvieron mucho que ver con toda esta inclusión de diversidad, equidad e inclusión, y de cambiar historias clásicas, de tratar de forzar diversidad e inclusión cuando lo podrían haber escrito mejor, usado la creatividad, hecho nuevas historias y nadie hubiera tenido un problema, pero fue por el hecho de que todo se veía forzado, de que todo fue como a propósito, y si te enoja o no te gustan los cambios, entonces tú estás mal como fan. Entonces vemos un cambio, quién sabe hasta dónde llegue o si sí sea real, pero yo estaría dispuesta, y a mí sí me gusta Tangled, la verdad, aunque salió cuando yo ya estaba bastante más grande, me gusta Tangled, y puede que esté bien que hagan un remake, pero está aún mejor que lo pongan en pausa y que digan, bueno, pensémoslo bien, hagamos las cosas bien y seamos un poco más creativos y también respetemos la historia. Entonces, como es viernes, nada más quería traer eso rápido como noticia. Y espérame, ahí estamos. Y aparte de eso, pues solo queda esperar a ver cómo termina esta película, si es que sale. Y no, una vez más, no tengo ninguna oposición a que hagan estos live actions, si los hacen bien, si son fieles a la historia, y si pues básicamente nada más nos dan las versiones de las películas clásicas que a tanta gente le encanta, pero en carne y hueso. Si hicieran eso, todo estaría perfecto, y lo hicieron con Cenicienta, lo hicieron más o menos con La Bella y la Bestia, con todos estos live actions, pero luego algo pasó y decidieron cambiar toda la historia, decidieron cambiar a todos los personajes, todas las motivaciones de los personajes. Mulan, ni hablemos de Mulan, porque ahí sí les fue pésimo y lo hicieron pésimo. Pasó de ser una señorita que pues, o sea, Mulan, que era una niña normal, que estaba tratando de ayudar a su familia, que fue forzada a ir a la guerra y a aprender, y que no le salía nada bien y que no podía hacer nada, a una Mulan en carne y hueso que tenía un poder especial y que por eso era la mejor en lo que hacía y no tenía ninguna falla y en todo le iba bien. Entonces, una vez más, no es mucho pedir, supongo, pero por fin Disney escuchó, entendió, y pues ya veremos qué pasa, ¿verdad? Y ahora sí, déjenme leer los comentarios rápido, a ver si hay algún comentario. ¡Ay, sí hay! Muchas gracias. Walker dice, hola, buenas. Vine temprano, gracias. Walker dice, hace tiempo vi que Disney tiene sus acciones como ocultas en otras acciones, o sea, puedes comprar una acción de Nokia, pero un porcentaje va a las acciones de Disney, lo cual hace difícil que, pues supongo que la gente sepa bien cuánto está ganando. Y además, pues Disney ha comprado y se ha metido en todo, no solo... porque por si alguien quiere camotes, no solo las acciones, no solo las propiedades como tal, pero pues también son dueños de ESPN, son dueños de varias también compañías de comida de las cuales nadie está enterado, pero sí es interesante cuando uno se mete realmente a ver en qué tanto tiene metidas las manos Disney, y no solo Disney, varias otras empresas también, o sea, Unilever, etcétera, son dueñas de pues casi todo lo demás. Y hasta arriba está BlackRock, pero no podemos hablar de eso en YouTube todavía. Walker dice, ¿en qué momento crees que se desvirtuó el hacer protagonistas fuertes a las mujeres. Realmente me pregunto si siempre fue forzado. Y eso es lo que estoy más o menos diciendo, que desde los años 90 había una tendencia por querer hacer y mostrar mujeres que no solo buscaran el amor y que no solo buscaran casarse, y que lo más importante de la historia fuera que encontraron a alguien con quien construir una vida, que es bastante importante, pero fue a partir de los 90s que entraron nuevas personas a la sección de animación de Disney, y donde se hizo intencionalmente para darle un mensaje positivo y un ejemplo a seguir a las niñas chiquitas. Yadira Rivera dice que Disney deje de hacer live actions y vuelve a hacer películas 2D con historias originales. Las nuevas generaciones están volviendo a los valores tradicionales. Y exactamente, por eso digo, o sea, está bien si quieren hacer sus live actions, si creen que eso les va a dejar dinero, pero que los hagan bien, por lo menos. Y pues sí, lo más importante, que regresen a hacer animación y que regresen a el 2D, porque vimos el desastre que fue Wish. Ni siquiera sé cómo se llama en español. Deseos, sueños, quién sabe. Que se suponía que iba a ser la más icónica para celebrar los 100 años de animación de Walt Disney, y no sé si puedo decir esto en YouTube, pero la cagaron masivamente. Y no fue un homenaje a nada. Trataron de mezclar animación 2D con 3D, con animación original, pues, o sea, la que se hacía a mano, donde todo pintaban y dibujaban cada recuadro, cada toma de las películas, y luego lo juntaban, y así es como hacían animación. Pero trataron de hacer eso, no funcionó. Entonces, o hagan 2D o háganle como medio Tangled, que es mitad y mitad, pero que sí funciona. Pero pues sí, ya nada que hacen les sale bien. Diplomatic Jax dice: escuché una vez que la Teniente Ripley de Alien fue paciente cero de estas películas de mujeres empoderadas, y mencionaban una película llamada Agente 70 o algo así, como una película de mujeres empoderadas, aunque no recuerdo muy bien el nombre de esa película. Yo tampoco sé, pero sí, Ripley fue muy icónica, y también por eso a mucha gente le dio risa cuando, no sé si se acuerdan, Jennifer Lawrence salió a decir que ella era la primera mujer en una película de acción que podía ser un ejemplo para las niñas, y todo el mundo así como Tomb Raider, Ripley de Alien y varias otras, la de Sarah Connor de Terminator, etc. Pero, o sea, está bien una vez en cuando, sáquenlas, pero también denles algún tipo de personalidad más allá de todo lo puedo, y denles problemas reales y problemas que tienen las mujeres también, que son diferentes a los hombres, y está bien enseñar eso. A propósito, menos mal los videos del canal han tenido muchos comentarios. Sí, por lo menos. Muchas gracias. Aunque estén en desacuerdo, me interesa mucho cuando la gente comenta con cosas con las que no están de acuerdo, o también comentarios constructivos para mejorar. Todo eso siempre nos interesa, y me interesa saber qué piensa la gente, pues, allá afuera, porque no tengo tanto contacto con el mundo exterior a veces cuando me quedo editando mucho tiempo. Diplomatic Jax dice: me da algo de risa cómo esa película de Mulan quisieron que fuera un hit en China, y ni quitándolo woke les fue bien, y eso que China ha sido una de las promotoras de esas cosas woke en Hollywood. Sí, pero pues no lo quieren en China, porque obviamente no pueden hacer que las niñas ni los niños crean que pueden salir de ese infierno. CGI de los live action son simplemente malos porque los expertos en eso cada vez más se van a la industria de los videojuegos. Eso, o porque, y rápidamente, porque ya me están viendo con cara de ella, que aquí también quiere hablar, Guy. Rápidamente, con todo eso de los animadores y animación computarizada, que Disney en un punto era bastante bueno, era muy bueno, pero sacaron a muchos de sus animadores a fuerzas. Básicamente les dijeron como, pues pásale, ahí está la puerta, porque son blancos y porque son hombres y porque ya llevaban demasiado tiempo ahí, y contrataron a muchísimos animadores nuevos con, pues obviamente siguiendo las cuotas de inclusión, digamos, los requerimientos que la industria pedía. Y les empezó a ir pésimo, porque en vez de que aprendieran de estas eminencias de la animación, de algunos de los que originaron o crearon muchos de estos programas, muchas de estas formas técnicas de hacer animación, pues no, les enseñaron la puerta, ellos se fueron a otros lados y a lugares donde vemos mejor animación también, incluyendo videojuegos, y los nuevos se quedaron ahí como papando moscas sin saber qué hacer ni cómo hacer las cosas bien. Y véase Wish. Pero ahora sí, vámonos con inglés, porque ya Guy está a punto de quedarse dormido. Entonces, pasamos a inglés. There we go. Sorry.
Oh, it's okay.
I got excited talking about Tangled for some reason.
Thank you to everybody that liked the video so far, because YouTube has been throttling us. We mentioned it yesterday, but I see, again, everybody's giving us a lot of likes, so we really do appreciate it. What did you say about Tangled?
That it's good that they have paused it and kind of used the time to rethink things, maybe even not do a live action remake. I said that if they were loyal to the story and the character and didn't change the storyline and didn't change what the character is and what she looks like, etc., then I'm fine with them doing a live action. But the main thing they should do is make original stories, and then if they're creative enough, they can insert as many other things, extra things as they want. But don't do it with stories that are already there.
Yeah, it's interesting that they're putting this on pause, because they're also trying to... The rumor was they're trying to sell Star Wars, but now a lot of people are suspecting they're not actually trying to sell Star Wars. They're trying to get an evaluation for Star Wars. They want to get a really low evaluation so they can use... Evaluation. That's what I said.
Okay.
Evaluation for Star Wars, so they can use that, the corporate higher-ups can use that as an excuse to move away from wokeness. They need a reason why they can move away from this and start rewriting massive amounts of scripts they have in the pipeline for the next year and 2 years. So if they can get a bad evaluation on Star Wars and have it basically in the dumps, impossible to sell, it gives them a reason legitimately for their employees to move away from all this woke nonsense.
But I think it was more that they messed up, and that was like not even trying to mess up or trying to get a low valuation. But now that they see what mess they've created, they've started trying to just make it worse and worse. But I mean, Kathleen Kennedy's hand in all this is still there, and I think they still thought it was going to be successful when they first started messing with it.
Yeah, but they have 60 scripts from George Lucas from an original series, but it's a $40 million per episode investment if they wanted to do that. They have to have a real hard reason to do that, and a non-sellable Star Wars franchise, if they can get that type of evaluation, then the corporate higher-ups can now pivot all of Disney away from wokeness. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and I hope that this is an indication with Snow White and everything that they're realizing the mistakes they've made. Talking about mistakes made and somebody else that apparently made a mistake, Sydney Sweeney, if you don't know who that is, she's an actress that has risen in the ranks. She was in Euphoria. Everybody's seen everything she has to show. Let's just say it like that. She reportedly dumped her fiance, Jonathan Davino, and apparently everybody saw it coming. I didn't even know she had a fiance, but you put this story in there.
Yeah, well, she dumps her fiance now that she's kind of getting big, so it's going to be interesting. Like, her career is obviously going to take off. Hollywood does not like young starlets to have boyfriends, husbands, or fiancés. They like to promote this feminist single boss babe, and that's what they're going to try to do with her.
And it is funny how I had to blur the image of, what was her name?
Yeah.
Chaperone, because we accidentally showed too much of her, so sorry. But yes, it's funny how the article is actually framing it, because it says that she's too busy slaying Hollywood to play a housewife. That's how the article is basically framing all of this. And she said the writing was on the wall when she wiped him from Instagram. Fans started putting the pieces together when Sydney scrubbed a photo of her and Davino from Instagram. And apparently she ditched the engagement ring and she was done. But then everybody else is saying she's dating this old businessman. The article even says, she's 26, I think, or 27, and he's a 41-year-old businessman who wants to be spending time with just a businessman. When you could be, and she's not crying, she's partying with Glenn Powell, who is her co-star in Anyone But You. Didn't watch it. And apparently it might be more reasonable to think that she dumped her fiance to be with Mr. Powell. But of course, they're saying it as it's so empowering that she has decided that her career is more important than being married or engaged. But at the same time saying that she wanted to be alone, but now she's also with her co-star. So trying to twist the story.
It looks like she probably cheated with her co-star and then was looking for the perfect opportunity to jump ship and wanted to make sure the feelings were reciprocated and she can be in a relationship.
Yes.
So she had this other guy as a safety net, and a lot of women do this. They date a guy they maybe think they're above until they can upgrade, and then they just keep trying to upgrade.
Yeah.
And sometimes they get too old and it backfires on him.
Yeah. And I mean, she's young, but she's not that young. I've talked about this multiple times, but talking about fertility rates, I mean, she's starting to go towards the end of her very fertile years, but probably she doesn't want kids because she's laying it in Hollywood. But yeah, so it says they split because she wants to focus on her career right now. And apparently, and I hate it that they put it like this in the article, it says, and let's face it, when your career is exploding, why tie yourself down to a man whose biggest flex is businessman on LinkedIn? Like, why would they frame it like that? This guy probably had a lot of money too, and was pretty successful in his own right. And I don't know why they see the need to have to bash him as well, and calling him old at 41.
They're trying to prop her up, is what they're trying to do.
Yes, of course.
Okay, let's move on to the next story here, and this one was pretty interesting.
Do we have the correct headlines?
Georgia police.
Yes.
Yep, this is the one.
So this story kind of blew up. We didn't talk about it. It blew up like yesterday.
Well, yeah, let's talk about the original narrative that happened.
Yes.
And then there was new information that came out. But first, we'll tell you the original narrative that came out in the media.
Yes. So you tell it how you told me.
Well, you got the article there. I have some notes.
I already talked about it.
Go ahead.
Hold on. Then let me bring up the article again. Georgia police find inconsistencies in job-seeking dads' whereabouts after leaving kids at McDonald's. So this guy apparently was arrested in Georgia, Atlanta, after it was found that he had left his three kids at a McDonald's by themselves, all taken care of by his oldest, a 10-year-old girl, I believe. But the ages were like 10, 3, and 1.
No,
10, 6, and 1.
10, 6, and 1.
So, I mean, kids that can't really be alone, even if you really trust your 10-year-old. And it's divided opinion on the internet because a lot of people say, well, he was going to go try to seek he was going to a job interview, so it's fine. I mean, in any other country, they would allow this to happen.
Yeah, so basically the gentleman went into McDonald's, got some food, put them in the play area, and told his 10-year-old to watch the 6 and 1-year-old, and then supposedly he left for a job interview. He came back an hour and a half later, and the police were there, questioned him, and then arrested him. The liberal media, progressive media kind of went crazy over the story. I was actually very sympathetic to the gentleman as well. If you're going for a job interview, yeah, you shouldn't leave your kids there, but maybe he's desperate. He had nobody else to watch him. He could potentially have no money for a babysitter. He is trying to raise 3 kids. He did have a wife, but the wife was at work, so I was very sympathetic to the gentleman overall. But then there was, just before we went on air, there was an update to the story.
Yeah, and I wasn't as sympathetic as you were because...
But I was also left at home at a young age from 6 years old by myself while my mother went out. So...
I mean, it was more common before, let's say 80s, 90s. In Europe still, I mean, in South Korea, kids go walking to school by themselves and they're trained to do this, but it's also a safer society. Sometimes-ish, in part because they impose a lot of control on their citizens. But I wasn't that sympathetic just because there had to be something that led to the arrest. And also, I mean, if you're that hard up for a job, maybe your wife can maybe take them to, I don't know, work. There's free places in community centers that can nanny or look after kids for a little bit even. But I mean, also... There's a broken system in the States.
What happened in the story after? The police ended up following up on his story, and they found out he was never at a job interview where he said he went.
And that's what I said. Cameras. I said he was probably not even at a job interview. It has to do with
they don't know where
substances.
They don't know where he was, but they know he wasn't at this job interview he claimed to be at. If I had to guess, now I'm not saying this is what happened, substances were probably involved.
And apparently he did go to the place that he said the job interview was at, but there apparently was either no record or he was there at times when he had said he had the interview, but he wasn't at the interview. It was too fast when he was there. So the Georgia father accused of leaving his 3 young children alone at McDonald's while he went for a job interview was not looking for work at the time of his arrest, as police spotted inconsistencies over his whereabouts. Chris Louis, who was charged with deprivation of a minor for the March 2022 fast food incident, left his 3 kids, aged 1, 6, and 10, alone at the restaurant for about an hour and a half, Richmond County Sheriff's Police Office said. 24-year-old was detained by police after they were unable to corroborate his whereabouts. Louis told officials he had filled out an application at the West Bank Inn next door earlier in the day and was waiting for a callback. Police poked holes in Louis's alibi when They went to the inn and spoke to an employee who confirmed that Louis had filled out a job application around 1:30, but was not expecting any return call for an interview. And then apparently security footage captured him walking around the hotel at 1:30, but not around 1:40 when he left his kids.
And this kind of brings up a bigger conversation about the nanny state and how the government kind of wants to be the parent now. And they're implementing very strict laws on parents themselves. There was another story I was researching while I was reading this, and there's a gentleman that left his kid in the car, not on a hot day, to go into the gas station where he had visual sight of the car. Another person in the gas station seen that, called the police, and the police came and questioned him over it. So that's pretty interesting.
I mean, some of the laws are very heightened, even to a degree where, I mean, it's not common sense. But in this case, I mean, apparently 2 eagle-eyed customers saw 3 kids inside the restaurant around 4:30 as Louis talked to someone on the phone. The customers heard Louis said he needed to drop something off before he left the store, and the unaccompanied kids for nearly 90 minutes. Unidentified customers reported the odd exchange to the police. So I think it was more the fact that he was on the phone and then said, oh yeah, I'll go drop it off right now. And then they see him leave and his kids are still there. I mean, I think that's where the main issue is.
We were also talking about, well, why didn't he leave him at the apartment? Supposedly his apartment was extremely far from the McDonald's and whatever he actually had to do. So he thought it was a better idea to bring them to the McDonald's. And we kind of had a debate earlier. I said, well, maybe it could be more dangerous to leave them at home because they are young kids. There's knives. There's access to fire. Mm-hmm. There could be firearms or drugs in the house as well, or things you don't want the kids getting into. So maybe he thought the safest thing was to leave them at the McDonald's. But this does bring up a bigger discussion of when is it okay to leave your kids alone, or when is it okay to have one child babysit another child?
But I also think this plays a little bit more into the family dynamics, and because I read a little bit more into the story, I kind of disagree a little bit with...
Okay, but what age is it okay to leave a kid alone?
I don't know. Depends on the kid also.
Well, I'm asking you.
Like if the kid is either dumb or very impulsive, or you haven't had...
But that doesn't work under the law. What would be a good generalized rule if you were to make a law? What?
I mean, before, they used to have 14-year-olds babysitting little children for the entire night, so... I don't know, 13, 14?
13, 14, okay. I would,
once they can have logical reason, a little bit more of logical reasoning.
And my line's kind of 10 years old. He did have his 10-year-old watch the other two, but the one was an infant, so it's a little harder.
And the one was an infant. But the story gets even more interesting, and this is why I really disagree with anybody that's trying to support this guy. Louis's oldest daughter, so the 10-year-old, told police that she and her family had walked to the McDonald's from Hendricks, an apartment complex less than a mile down the road, where her mother lived. The girl allegedly claimed her father frequently left them alone when he was watching them. The 10-year-old girl told officials her dad had a backpack and was supposed to deliver it to their mom, Lizette Pichardo. Her daughter contacted her mom, Pichardo, over social media and told her to go to McDonald's to meet with the police. She arrived at the restaurant shortly after and called Louis to get him to return. And then he claimed he went into the apartment to look for the mom, but she wasn't there. So I think it's more of a family dynamics issue and not so much what age should we leave kids alone. It's more this specific family
Okay, let's
issue.
Move on to the next story. We had a lot of this one.
Okay. Avatar. James Cameron's Avatar Fire and Ash debuts dazzling trailer at CinemaCon with footage of epic battles and evil Na'vi.
Now, the cinematics on this thing are supposed to be phenomenal, but it seems like James Cameron used to write really good movies, and he didn't have to rely on massive special effects. And it was story first, and now it seems to be like he's making these 3-hour movies that are way too drawn out. They're all based upon the look of the movie, and he's going away from storyline. I would rather put story first, visual second. I actually don't like the amount of cinematics that are
animation, CGI.
Yeah, CGI that's going into Hollywood right now.
I mean, I I've never understood why. I don't know anybody that like really likes Avatar. I don't know anybody. People, yes, it's a technological masterpiece. The story is interesting, but it's basically just kind of Romeo and Juliet or one of those rehashed. But I will disagree with James Cameron not relying on technology because, I mean, his most famous movie, Titanic, he did that whole deep sea exploration, and he financed a whole giant project to be able to reach the bottom of the ocean to find the damn ship, and then kind of based the story also around that, and it became this huge thing. I was a big fan of Titanic when I was younger.
Yeah, but he actually built the ship for Titanic, a lot of it. A lot of it was CGI.
Yes, he did a lot of practical effects, but that's what I'm saying. Like, he's always been, yes, story-focused, but also wanting to bring in, you know, this big, epic, cinematic world.
Yeah, and I do remember the story, and I did like the fact that his ex-wife's actually a director as well. She directed, I think it was called The Hurt Locker, and it was all practical effects. It was a war movie, and that was the year Avatar came out, and Avatar in James Cameron's mind was his life's work, and he expected to win the Oscar for it, and his wife took the Oscar that year away from him for Best Picture. Nice. So that was nice. But also...
hers was even... better.
It was good. It was all story based. Yes. Jake Gyllenhaal was in it. He did a phenomenal job in that movie.
The baby wasn't that good.
But Avatar, I remember watching the behind the scenes, and they spent a ton of money, a ton of time on the original Avatar because they were animating the entire worlds. They were making entire worlds, so it would be very easy for them to make 3, 4, and 5. So they had already planned to make 4 movies after they had part 1 because it would be extremely cheap to make the other movies.
But now we also see that Disney has kind of taken hold of it and created the whole Avatar land in Magic Kingdom for some reason. Not Magic Kingdom, Animal Kingdom. For some reason, which, I mean, yes, they kind of look like animals. But Avatar does not belong in Animal Kingdom, which is supposed to be real-life animals. Another thing I have a gripe with Disney about. But, yeah, I mean, if anybody, please, in the comments, if anybody really likes Avatar, is like a super Avatar fan, let me know, because I've never met anybody online or in real life.
I didn't mind Avatar at all, but it's
that's
not
the
my
thing.
kind
People
of movie.
say I didn't mind it, but there's nobody that's like a super fan of Avatar.
Yeah, but it's not bad, but it's not my favorite movie by any means.
It's boring. It's an environmentalist tale. Oh, yes, let's save the planet because otherwise they're going to come destroy it.
Well, they're getting too long. This is I believe this one's estimated at 3 hours. Like if it's an hour and a half, then it leaves you. It's just enough where it leaves you wanting more, rather than God, I need a bathroom break because it's 3 hours long.
Yes.
Okay, well, that's good. That's enough for Avatar, maybe? This next one I threw in there just because it was a little bit of politics we can talk on YouTube without getting in trouble, I think.
Sure. I mean, you might get in trouble with the Mexican people. Mexico to dump millions of gallons of sewage into Tijuana River. U.S. continues to be a dumping ground official. Earlier this week, EPA, so the Environmental Protection Agency Administrator Lee Zeldin, said he plans to visit the southern border in San Diego to address the sewage problem.
Yeah, and Mexico doesn't have the same kind of regulations the United States does, but maybe if the U.S. can put a little bit of pressure on Mexico, at least along the border states, to take more responsibility of their water, that would be good. What I'm more concerned about in Mexico actually is the regulations the government doesn't put on corporations regarding water and electricity. They allow them to, companies like Coca-Cola, they allow them to drain massive amounts of water out of the ground and basically not pay for it or pay very little for it. Mm-hmm. And Mexico's already hurting for water. This is not necessarily the best thing. They very often do the same thing with electricity. They want to bring manufacturing and entice manufacturers, so they give very cheap electricity, which they very often run at a loss, and the same thing with their water resources. They should be at least charging cost for water and electricity resources, especially for corporations. They charge the people for it, so. Do you have anything?
Well, I mean, we know water management in Mexico is horrible and sucks, and they don't know how to do it properly. And sooner or later, it's going to come back and bite them. It already has in many states. It already has in many of the past decades. Has been a huge issue. But
was there a video for this?
I think just like the beach being covered in sewage water.
Well, play it a little bit.
Because I don't know if Fox News is going to copy. Yeah, they're going to copyright me because it's a part of a show. But
I had seen another video though, and it was a massive amount of raw sewage being dumped out, basically in a river. Yeah. So But
I mean, being from Mexico, this just doesn't surprise us.
No.
Honestly, it's not good, but
yeah. Okay, we can move on to the next thing. And that's Disney.
Same story I talked about in Spanish. Disney puts Tangled live-action remake on hold in wake of Snow White disastrous box office return.
Well, yeah, this is going right back to Rachel Zegler, and I think Disney doesn't...
Well, and their strategy in general.
Well, Disney's executives just don't know how to read the room. They don't understand why things are failing.
Well, I think finally they've been able to read the room because they decided to put it on
I think they're
hold.
putting it on pause, and they're going to say, oh, it's the Israeli thing, it's the Zegler thing.
No.
Yeah, that's what they're going to do. They're not going to read the room. I'm telling you.
They are.
Okay, we'll see what happens.
Because, I mean, they're going to wait to see if Lilo and Stitch works, where they basically, I think, mostly focus on the story and just try to be faithful to the original movie. And if that works, instead of what they've been doing with their remakes in the past 5-6 years, like Mulan, all of those. Because before with, like, Sleeping Beauty, Cinderella, the Beauty and the Beast, kind of, they didn't change the story that much. And then they did Cruella, and then they did all of these remakes where they changed the original story completely, and it didn't work. So I think now they're just kind of waiting to see if they return to the original story and are faithful and just show it to us with live people. That might be what the fans want.
Well, I think you're wrong.
Because Tangled is beloved by everybody.
You have to remember you were wrong about the bet, and you do owe me $5 now.
Wrong.
Yeah, they made $69 million
I said a month. It hasn't been a month.
Well, they're at $69 million, and it's
but
completely
it's still
tanked.
in theaters. I just said it was going to stay in theaters for a month and a half.
I checked, and we betted. Yeah, we betted $100 million domestically, and it didn't get anywhere close to that, and it's not going to. It's already tanked.
Fine, I'll buy you an ice cream.
3 ice creams.
Fine,
Oh, this is Mexico. 5 ice creams.
Fine.
They're $1 each.
But what I mainly did say in Spanish, and I'll say it again in English, I mean, it would be fine if they wanted to do live action remakes of their movies, but the main thing they need to focus on is creativity and making also 2D animation or just animation in general with original stories without changing those that the people love, especially Tangled. I mean, again, Tangled... It is loved by everybody.
Yeah,
almost.
Tangled has a bit more of a storyline than Snow White as well. Snow White it's a little bit of a dull plot line for it, to be honest.
No, you didn't watch my video in Spanish about it. It's not dull at all, actually. It was reflecting the times of the 1930s when women were going back to work.
Calm down. Calm down.
Don't tell a woman to calm down.
Calm. Okay, we got a couple more stories here. Los Angeles sound stages.
Film and TV soundstage vacancies reach historically high levels. Sound stages is basically where they film anything that is either in front of a crowd or movies.
Wait, you got a completely different story than I do.
Why?
Because at Los Angeles sound stages, occupancy declines again for 2024. To 63%.
Yeah, vacancies reach historically high levels.
Okay, I didn't see vacancies on yours. Okay, read a little bit about this.
A new Film LA report shows studios reporting the fewest number of on-stage shoot days in recorded history. So they're not recording as much on sound stages. Could this be because they're now relying on more CGI technology and more even AI-produced technology, or that they're just not making as many things?
Well, and it could be cheaper to be going on location as well because the cameras are getting so high-tech, you're needing less and less lighting, things like this.
Yes.
A lot of people are doing handheld and actually using natural light now. Okay, we got 2 more, and then we'll go over to RUM.
Minecraft movie
BLE.
Official Rotten Tomatoes score revealed, and it is surprising.
Oh, I brought this up only because I may have been wrong about this yesterday. The initial reviewers that got the first sneak peeks at this said this was an absolute horrible movie. But some people like Culture Casino and WDW Pro have now seen it and said they were actually pleasantly surprised. Not the greatest movie in the world, but it wasn't a dumpster fire like it was being originally reported in the media. So, and we went to McDonald's today, and my God, they had these little Minecraft figures in the case.
For Happy Meals.
We went in there, nobody was in there originally, and then we made the mistake of standing next to the Minecraft case. Before we knew it, there was like 10 people around us trying to look at the Minecraft.
Adults too, not kids.
Very
a lot of people like
Mexico.
Minecraft. I've never understood it, never understand it. It's fine if you like it, but I'm not a video game person either, so.
Well, yeah, my brother liked it, so.
And because apparently, because Like the critic scores are very low, but the audience scores are very high.
Yeah.
Which happens a lot with good movies usually.
And there's a backlash towards Jack Black politically right now. So the fact that it's getting good audience scores is showing they may want to forgive him.
Yeah. So
Having Jason Momoa in there definitely helps.
yes, even though you told him that he always picks badly.
He does. He didn't pick good. I mean, it's not a great movie, but it's still middle of the road. But he does so many horrible movies, and I like him a lot. So I wish he would pick better movies in the future.
Yeah. So 40. Here we see 49 and 83 for the people. So the people like it, and the people like Minecraft, anyways.
Yeah. And the last two stories were bigger cultural stories, so
yes.
they're kind of related here.
So I actually watched this video thanks to you. But woman nearly divorces.
Yeah, I was playing this while we were getting ready for the show, and it went on to the next story that we already had as well.
So woman nearly divorces husband over unequal chores. Is she overreacting or justified? A dishwasher full of clean dishes, a text message sent in frustration, a husband who replied, "Sorry, I was running late for work." And just like that, a mother of 4 with a supportive spouse nearly filed for divorce.
And this is a little bit insane because this girl has been around for
Candace.
A couple of years. She's a growing influencer, and she basically complains about her husband, even though she admits she has a wonderful husband.
And about motherhood.
And when she talks about him, it's like, I'm not doing all that. She's doing 10 times what I'm doing. He basically cooks all the dinners, cleans a lot of the clothes, does a lot of the housework.
Yeah.
It's crazy, and he's got a job on top of that. And then she's complaining that
is not enough.
That it's not enough, and that she feels like she's making all the decisions because like she has to make the decision when he asks her what she wants for dinner. It takes her probably a minute to think about it, and he has to spend an hour cooking it, and that's too much. It's too much strain on her.
Yeah, and I mean, we see more and more, and as we mentioned it recently in another live about how nowadays, if any woman comes out and says, "Oh, I like being a mother, I like doing these things," she gets, excoriated online. Like, you're not allowed to say that. But when you come out and complain all the livelong day about being a mother and about your husband and about how horrible your life is, you do very well.
Well, also, she was saying she was on the edge of divorce, and so she had to have a conversation with him, and she said she's just way too much for her. You need to do more. And then he said, "No problem. What can I do?" And she's like, "Well, I need you to do the laundry. I need you to do the dishes." And it's like, what do you have, this simp cuckold, or what is this? This is nuts.
I don't know if you can say that word.
Well, I just did.
But yeah.
But he was so agreeable to do all this stuff. And she's really becoming a huge influencer within the married space. It's like married feminism.
Yeah.
And which is I think very dangerous because, man, I feel bad for American men if this is where American women are headed.
Yes, and Canadian too.
Yeah.
But yes, in a gleaming kitchen with 4 well-fed children and a nanny somewhere in the wings, a woman looked into the camera and admitted she almost left her husband over the dishwasher. The internet exploded. Paige, a remote worker and social media influencer, struck a nerve with women everywhere when she posted a viral video confessing she came dangerously close to filing for divorce, not because her husband was abusive or absent or had a corn addiction, but because her son's water bottle was still in the dishwasher. That's right, a water bottle left unemptied, drenched in meaning.
Well, they have 4 children as well. So, and I think it was a 20-year-long relationship. She admits on paper he's the perfect guy. He does anything she wants, and it's just too much for her.
And this is EV magazine, so it's a more conservative take, which usually it's hard to find on the internet. But I do want to read a little bit more because it completely just evidences what's happening. To the uninitiated, this might sound like peak suburban melodrama, but to thousands of women in the comments section, apparently this was a heartbreak they live every day. Having everything, doing everything, remembering everything, being everything, and still feeling invisible. The problem isn't that Paige's husband was a monster. He actually sounds like a pretty good guy, apparently just not good enough to make her feel truly seen. But unlike how some are spinning it, this is not the story of a trapped Cinderella. It's more like a modern queen of high expectations and invisible mental load suffocating under a crown she insisted on wearing. And then, this is just perfect. Divorce lawyers are saying that married single mom is one of the more common reasons for divorce these days.
And they were actually fairly wealthy family, nice house and everything else. So it's not. It looks like they're in a situation where she doesn't even have to work if she doesn't want to, but she's intentionally working a full-time job, trying
to become a social media influencer by complaining.
and trying to take care of the kids. Like maybe take some of this
With a
off your
nanny.
plate and take full responsibility for your kids.
Yeah.
Rather than trying to be some kind of influencer that's obviously, if it's too much for you, maybe take off the influencer thing.
Because, I mean, the dude has a job and he sounds great, and apparently they've been married since.
I don't know if he sounds great. He sounds like a liberal.
He sounds normal. He
Yeah.
sounds like a normal guy that listens too much to his wife.
Yeah, listens too much. That's why I never listen.
You do listen. But, I mean, and the whole thing is about women having these insane expectations, not only like married ones who expect their husbands to be not having to be told thank you when they take care of their kids, or not having to, be told to empty the dishwasher or be told to clean their own clothes. But I mean, most of these guys that they're complaining about have jobs, and I mean, 9 to 5 or even longer jobs, sometimes very physical jobs. And I mean, if you're a stay-at-home mom, or even if you work from home to take care of your kids, and then you're complaining that your husband isn't doing everything you expect him to.
Well, I also think this influencer job maybe isn't the healthiest thing for her, because she is really influencing a feminist sphere of women, and so they're really probably amping her up in the comments and things like that. Oh, you should leave your husband. You don't.
He's horrible.
He's horrible.
How dare he cook for you?
I could imagine that. Like, what's going to happen if she does leave her husband that she's been with 20 years? She has a kid and a wonderful life with.
Kids.
She's going to become a full-time influencer, a divorcee. Nobody's going to want her at that age, at least long term. They might want her
some idiot will.
They might want her for the night, but yeah, with 4 kids, that's a lot of baggage.
But I mean, again, she has enough money for a nanny. She has enough to live in this miraculous life. And as I was saying, I mean, yes, divorce rates are high because women have been sold this lie that they're not allowed to have to do everything pertaining to the household. But then at the same time, and I include myself in this, a lot of the women complaining say like, oh, he never washes, or oh, he never does this and that. But then when they do, you complain about how they do it because you have the way you like to do it, and then so it's better to just not let them. Like, I'm fine guy doesn't wash the dishes because I don't like how he washes them, and I'm fine with that because it's my standard as to how things should be done. Same with cleaning. For me.
Well, I do cook my own meals because I don't like the way you cook.
Because we don't like how we actually both eat kind of separately because we eat different things. But and this leads me to the next story, because all of these women, either married or the single ones that we see a lot on TikTok, Instagram, etc., when they're asked like, oh, what are your standards for a man? And it's like, oh, he has to be like 6 foot something, and he has to be skinny or like toned or like built. He has to go to the gym every day, have a 6-figure salary, have a nice car.
Which is less than 1% of men. Like,
have
you're not going to find
all these things that they're expecting. And then like you look at them and you say, honey, number one, it's really hard to find like someone like that for anybody. But number two, you're not in the position to be asking for that.
Well,
what have you done for yourself?
I somewhat disagree, because what happens when these women are young, they do get a guy like that for the night, but only for the night. They're not going to be able to get him long term. So it gives them this delusional thing in their head that when they're ready to settle down, they're going to get that same guy they did for the night. Guys will sleep with anybody for the night, but it doesn't mean you're going to get that person long term.
But also because they've been told that they have to be in the rat race, and they have to be, all that men care about is if you have a good job, and if you're super smart, and if you went to college. None of the guys give a shit about that. What guys want is somebody who's loyal, can take care of kids, wants kids, is not promiscuous like most girls nowadays who are told that that's empowering. So there's this disconnect between men and women, and then women having these huge expectations. Same for guys. I mean, a lot of guys just expect that the women of their dreams will walk through the door.
Well, no, I don't think that's true at all.
They'll fall in love with them.
40% of men are actually celibate, don't get laid. So there's a large sector of men that are completely rejected by society. So I think,
because they've let themselves be rejected by society. They've put themselves in that situation because they had such high standards and they didn't work on themselves.
They don't have high standards. They have extremely low standards.
They don't. Otherwise, they would be with somebody.
I used to work in a bar.
Yeah, but I know a lot of guys like that.
Okay.
I've known a lot of guys like that in college, especially.
We'll continue this over on the other site because I'm looking at the notes for this next story, and it's got...
Well, I'll quickly just say it on YouTube. So basically what I was getting to is because of these hugely high standards that both sides have, now who's going to end up taking over in general? AI. Because there's a Spanish AI model that's earning up to 10,000 euros a month, being from Spain, and she's completely digital and created digitally, but she's taken the place of actual real women.
Okay, we'll talk about it because we can't talk about this kind of stuff on YouTube, so I don't know why you put it here.
Well, because I wanted to lead into Rumble.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, the green monster.
You can go to the 2-camera, it works today.
Yeah, but let me... Okay.
Oh, okay.
Sure. Let me just read comments because we do have a lot of them, so thank you. Mostly from Jax.
There's not too many people left
Diplomatic
in the room.
Jax. No, but thank you for everybody who's still here and who came in. Rael Rincon says, sorry I'm late. Diplomatic Jax says, it's good. It's a good question when to leave your children alone. When I was a child, I was in a real hurricane. I was a real hurricane if they left me alone. And that's the thing, like you have to judge child by child too.
Yeah.
Like I would sit happily and read a book for 3 hours.
Yeah, but you're a female. Male
I know,
children
so
are
it
way
depends
different.
child, but the 10-year-old was a girl that they left alone.
I was also looking at this debate where a lot of conservatives want to separate men and women in school because they're educated differently. Anytime they've done this in the past, they've added double the physical activity for the male school, and their grades skyrocketed through the roof.
Yeah, good.
So you have an education system that's geared towards females and the way females learn.
And boys are expected to behave like females, which they're not, and it's fine. But that's why this really gets me going. But I mean, that's why we see a lot of little boys on ADHD medication because their teachers can't put up with them, their parents can't put up with them because they've been sitting in a room for who knows how many hours when they have to be outside climbing and eating rocks and whatever the hell boys do. But because they're in a system designed for girls who are fine with sitting and reading and drawing things and their feelings, these little kids go crazy in the classrooms because that's not how they learn, and then they're put on medication.
Well, also, the majority of people making it through the educational programs now are female teachers, and males do not listen to female teachers the same way they do to a male teacher. It's
a biological
It's a natural
reality.
hierarchy for male students, especially when they're young. They will listen to a strong male
and their
role
mother.
model.
And their mother.
But let's go over to...
We have more comments.
Oh, we do.
Walker says, I wondered why Disney doesn't make new stories. They're so afraid that people won't like the stuff, so they stick with the old stuff. It's also that they're driven by data and they're driven by whatever is going to make them money instead of also injecting creativity and trying things out like they used to.
Well, I disagree. I think they're driven by politics and politics alone.
Too,
politics alone at this point. Like I said earlier, they are sitting on 60 original George Lucas scripts for Star Wars that are dark and gritty, geared towards adults, that would really reset the series, and then they can branch out from there and make children's shows and things like that. But they don't want to do it.
Because they're scared of the bottom line.
It's a gold mine. It's a gold mine.
Yes.
People would watch it just because George Lucas wrote it, and each script cost him tens of thousands of dollars to write because he copyrighted and he paid big script writers to help him write these scripts.
And then also Walker says, movies about video games tend to be bad, although some have done well recently. While I'm not a fan of them, they don't live up to my expectations, which is difficult because it's summarizing a game. But I think also a lot of the reason why people like video games is the gameplay and playing the game. So just watching it, it's like, maybe if you like video games, I don't like video games, but it might be like sitting, like a little kid sitting watching their brother play the video game. So it's not the same. We'll see with the new Zelda movie what happens.
It's a trilogy movie.
Okay, with the 3 new Zelda movies.
But video game movies were actually off limits for a long time from studios because they just assumed they wouldn't be successful. And then Sonic and Mario recently had broken the mold, and now they're looking at it as a gold mine. Basically, they have a built-in audience that will come over and watch the movies if it's made halfway good. Kind of like how the comic book movies were. They're looking for properties with built-in audiences.
So they can milk them until they're horrible.
They like to play it safe. I say make lower budget movies, and when they hit gold because they write a good script, expand from there.
And just do original ones. I can't remember the last big series of movies that were original.
They only want to make $100 million movies, and a $10 to $20 million movie can be just as good. Mm-hmm. So
now with AI especially.
Yeah.
Walker also says, washing dishes today is just a matter of putting the dishwasher on. We don't have a dishwasher, but I like washing dishes. It relaxes me. I'm weird. And I'm also very meticulous about what gets, you have to clean the back of the dish too, not just the front.
Washing dishes is just a matter of putting it in the sink.
Yeah, for him, yes. And also, like, when you... Okay. I won't go on my old tangent of how to wash a dish. But when you wash pans, you have to wash the handle because those get dirty too, and the back.
Thank you for washing the
There
dishes.
we go. You're welcome. But I mean, we divide labor pretty equally.
Yeah.
Like sometimes when I'm editing or I have to do something, like you'll walk the dog
More vacuum,
in the
which he
mornings.
complains about.
Because he doesn't do it properly. But at least he did it. But like we don't like demand each other to do things.
No.
Things just kind of
fine.
get done. If he hasn't done it, I'll do it. If I haven't done it, he'll do it.
And do we have any more comments or no?
No. I just wanted to tell people how to wash a dish.
Okay, we'll see you on.
We'll see you on the Green Monster because I already said the name. The link isn't down below because YouTube gets mad at us when we do that. But thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you over there to talk about corn and stuff that's only for fans.
Okay, let me make sure we're gonna get over there.